Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are diving headfirst into chapter 171, Koza.
And this is the chapter where Crocodile stops playing games. He's not just making a move on the chessboard, he's decided to burn the entire board.
He flipped the table, smashed it into a million pieces, and then lit the pieces on fire. We find out exactly how he plans to plunge Alabasta into absolute, irreversible civil war, and it is a masterpiece of pure villainy.
It's a plan built on such a specific, cruel deception. If you want to make sure you catch every thread of Baroque Wax conspiracy as we unravel it, do us a favor and get subscribed. You don't want to miss a single clue.
Let's get into it. The chapter opens in the Alabasta palace, and right away, things are wrong.
The royal guard is in a panic. Chaka, one of the two head guards, is being told the king is gone.
And Chaka's reaction is exactly what ours is. How? How is that even possible? He says there are guards posted outside his room at all times. King Cobra, the king of a nation on the brink of war, doesn't just go for a stroll.
This isn't just about security being lax. Oda frames this like a classic locked room mystery. The room was sealed, constantly observed. Logically, what has happened should be impossible. Chaka is the jackal, one of the two guardian deities of Alabasta. He's a powerful warrior, but he's also a commander. His entire life is dedicated to protecting the king and the kingdom. To see him this completely flummoxed tells you the scale of the problem.
It's not just, oh no, the boss is missing. It's the laws of physics as I understand them have been broken. The panic isn't just about the king's safety. It's the dawning realization that they are facing an enemy who doesn't play by their rules, an enemy who can seemingly walk through walls.
And it immediately sows distrust. If the king can vanish from the most secure location in the country, who can you trust? Are there traitors in the guard? Is there some secret passage no one knows about? Chaka immediately sends out search parties, but you can see the confusion on his face. This isn't a problem that can be solved by just looking harder. The foundation of their security has a crack in it, and he has no idea how deep it goes.
It also makes you wonder, where's the other guy? Pell the Falcon. We know he's the other head guard. If there's a crisis at the palace, shouldn't he be there?
An excellent point. Pell is currently out on a mission trying to locate the rebel army's base of operations. Crocodile's timing is, as always, impeccable. He waits until the kingdom's two strongest guardians are divided. Chaka is isolated at the palace, and Pell is far away from the capital. The kingdom's defenses are literally split in half.
So the palace is already in a state of crisis, vulnerable, and a key player is off the board. It immediately sets the tone. The heart of the kingdom, the most secure location in the country, has been compromised. Something is fundamentally broken.
And while Chaka is trying to figure out this impossibility, the camera shifts. We find Koza.
He's riding hard on his duck, and he looks furious, desperate. This isn't the face of a triumphant rebel leader about to win his war. This is the face of a man racing against time to stop something terrible. A guard comes back to Chaka and says they've found the king, in a way, and that Koza is rushing to that location. It's all connected.
As he's writing, we get a flashback to his perspective, and it is just heartbreaking. We see everything that led him to this point. Oda is taking a moment, right before the climax of the conspiracy, to ensure we understand the man at the center of the rebellion.
We see his father, Toto, telling him not to give up on the king. This old man who is literally digging for water in a dried-up oasis, who has lost everything, still has faith. He remembers Cobra as a good man. That's so powerful. The people who have suffered the most are the ones holding on to hope the tightest.
It establishes a crucial conflict within Koza. His own father, a man he clearly respects and loves, is telling him his path is wrong. This isn't a simple decision for him. He's going against the wisdom of his elders, against the memory of a king he once admired as a child. He's doing it because the present reality seems to leave him no other choice.
And that reality is bleak. We see the rebellion swelling. The number hits 100,000. Let's just pause on that. 100,000 people. That's an army. That's the population of a major city, all of them so desperate they're willing to take up arms against their own government. This isn't some small faction of angry dudes. This is the country crying out.
Then we see the fighting, the lack of water, the images of suffering, and then you see the moment it all broke. The memory of Koza confronting Cobra, that argument we heard about. We don't hear the words, we just see the body language. Koza is pleading, desperate, and Cobra is stern, unmoving. Whatever Cobra said in response, it was the last straw.
You can feel the weight of that moment. Koza went to the palace as a last resort. He tried to talk it out, leader to leader. He was probably begging for help, for answers, for anything. And he was turned away. In his mind, the king he was told to believe in, the friend of his father, looked him in the eye and said no.
It contextualizes him perfectly. Koza isn't a villain. He's a patriot who believes his king has failed, and he feels he has no other choice. He's carrying the weight of all those suffering people. He's the tragic hero of this story in many ways. He's doing what he thinks is right based on the evidence he's been presented.
This is why he's the leader of the rebellion. He didn't want this. He was pushed into it. He tried the diplomatic route, he tried to trust, and in his eyes, he was betrayed. Oda makes you feel the weight of that choice. It's not just a rebellion, it's a tragedy. And it's a tragedy orchestrated by Crocodile, who fed Koza every piece of false evidence he needed to reach this exact conclusion.
And all of that history, all of that pain is fueling his ride to the port town of Nanohana.
Where, of course, the king has appeared, in the city of perfume of all places.
A very deliberate choice of location. Nanohana is known for its beauty and vibrancy. It's a symbol of Alabasta's culture. To commit an atrocity here is to defile something precious, ensuring the news will be all the more shocking.
He's there in the middle of the town square, flanked by men who look like royal guards. The citizens are gathered around, confused. Why is the king here? Why isn't he in the capital dealing with the impending war? And he gives them an answer. He announces to the entire town that he has an apology to make. You can almost feel the moment of hope from the crowd, like maybe this is it. Maybe he's going to fix things. Maybe Toto was right all along.
For 1 second, you think, is this it? Is the war over before it starts? The king himself has come to apologize.
And then he follows it up by saying he's going to destroy Nanohana. The turn is just brutal. It's an emotional whiplash. 1 second of hope immediately crushed and replaced with pure terror. The guards ready their weapons and the crowd panics. And then a little kid, just a small child, bravely steps forward and confronts the king. He asks him what he's doing, why he's doing this.
This should be a moment where a good king would be humbled. A child, the symbol of the nation's future and its innocence, is calling him out. But this king...
He just kicks the kid. Kicks a child, sending him flying. There is no line he won't cross. That single action tells you everything you need to know. This is not the Nefertari Cobra that Vivi has described. This is not the man Toto has faith in. This is a monster.
It's pure, unadulterated evil, and it's being performed on a public stage. The kick is the most important part of the speech. Words can be misheard or reinterpreted, but an act of violence against a child is universally understood. It's a message written in a language everyone speaks. Your king has no compassion. He is a tyrant.
It's so unbelievably cruel. He didn't need to do that. He could have just ordered the attack, but he chose to do that, to personally, physically harm a child in front of everyone. He's not just trying to start a war, he's trying to poison the very idea of the monarchy forever.
It's a performance. It's an act of political theater designed to be as monstrous as possible. There is no ambiguity. He wants the people to see him as a tyrant. He is methodically destroying his own reputation, piece by piece, in the most public way imaginable.
And right at that moment, as the kid is on the ground crying, Koza arrives. He slides in on his duck, sees the chaos, sees the fallen child, and he screams at Cobra, demanding to know what is happening.
The timing is, of course, perfect. The star witness has arrived just in time for the climax.
He gets his answer. Cobra turns to him, calm as can be, a little smirk on his face, and says he is apologizing for using the dance powder.
The ultimate confession, the one accusation that has fueled this entire rebellion. He just admits it, right in front of the rebel leader and the entire town. It's the gasoline on the fire.
Let's just recap what that means. Dance powder steals rain from other places to make it fall in one spot. Using it is a global crime banned by the world government. The king admitting to this isn't just admitting he caused the drought. He's admitting to being an international criminal who condemned his own people to suffering for the sake of the capital.
It retroactively justifies every single action the rebellion has taken. It validates every fear, every suspicion. Crocodile has spent years building this narrative, this slow-burning conspiracy, and this is the moment he ignites it all.
Koza is enraged. This is his worst fear confirmed. Everything he's fought for, everything he's sacrificed, was based on a truth that the king now freely admits. You can see the fury and the validation warring on his face. He's been right all along, and the truth is even more monstrous than he could have imagined.
He needed to hear it. The entire plan hinges on Koza being the primary witness. If some random citizen reported this, it could be dismissed as a rumor. But for the leader of the rebellion to hear the confession with his own ears, that is an undeniable truth that will spread to his entire army.
And in that exact moment of pure, righteous anger, one of the soldiers shoots him.
It's perfectly timed. It's surgical. They needed Koza to be a witness. They needed him to hear the truth from the king's own mouth. And then they needed to make him a martyr. The bullet comes from the direction of the royal guard, making it look like a state-sanctioned assassination attempt.
He goes down, and the king and his men just turn and walk away. Their job is done. The city is in chaos. The rebel leader has been shot by a royal soldier after the king confessed to a national crime. You couldn't write a better pretext for an all-out war. It's a perfect casus belli.
This is Operation Utopia. It's not just about inciting violence. It's about creating a story where the king is a monster and the rebels are tragically in the right. Crocodile is writing a new history for Alabasta in real time, using actions and manufactured events instead of ink.
He is a terrifying villain. This isn't about strength, like Arlong wanting to crush a village or Krieg wanting to conquer a restaurant. This is about manipulation on a national scale. He's destroying the country from the inside out by destroying its trust, its very soul.
And just when you think the chaos in Nanohana has peaked, it gets worse. A giant ship comes barreling into the harbor and just crashes straight into the docks, splintering everything. It's complete mayhem. There's no warning, just this massive, destructive arrival.
This isn't a subtle insertion of agents. This is an invasion. The destruction of the port serves two purposes. It adds to the chaos, making it seem like the entire country is falling apart, and it prevents people from easily leaving Nanohana by sea, trapping them in the panic. And walking calmly away from the wreckage, as if they just stepped off a bus, are two people we know, Mr. One and Miss Doublefinger.
The top officer agents, the real heavy hitters of Baroque works. Dazbones and, well, we don't know her real name yet. But these are the agents who took down Mr. 3 in Little Garden without breaking a sweat. Their arrival means the next phase has begun. These are not spies or saboteurs, they are killers.
Their designs are so cool, too. Mr. One is just this stoic shaved head dude with a big 1 tattooed on his chest. You just know he's all business. And Miss Doublefinger has this whole cowboy thing going on. Oda's character designs are always on point, but these two just scream danger.
They're not here to be subtle. Crashing a ship into a major port is a declaration. The full force of the organization is being brought to bear on Alabasta now. The planning phase is over. The conquest has begun.
And then we get the reveal, the final piece of the puzzle that makes everything click into place. The camera follows the king as he walks away into an alley.
And his face begins to change, to melt. The paneling here is brilliant. It's not a sudden transformation. Oda draws it as a grotesque rippling effect, like clay being reshaped.
It ripples and reforms into the grinning face of Mr. 2, Bon Carré.
The clone fruit.
Of course! It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the perfect answer to the locked room mystery. How did the king disappear from a locked room? He never left. Mr. 2 touched him, took his form, and hid the real Cobra somewhere. How could the king be so evil? Because it wasn't the king. It was the Okama way all along.
This is the genius of Crocodile's plan. He didn't just frame the king, he became the king. He used one of his own officers to perform this act of national treason, making the evidence irrefutable. Who are you gonna believe? Your own eyes, or the impossible truth that an imposter did all this? The human mind will almost always trust the evidence of its own senses.
It's a perfect crime. It's a psychological masterpiece of evil. And now the entire country is going to erupt in flames because of a lie they all saw with their own two eyes. That is absolutely diabolical. Super diabolical.
It also recontextualizes our first meeting with Mr. Two. We and the Straw Hats saw him as this goofy, friendly oddball.
The Okama way. We were all laughing. They were all dancing. Luffy and Usopp and Chopper were doing impressions with him. They made friends. They had that little mark on their arms as a sign of their friendship with him and Vivi. He was a fun side character, a gag.
And that entire time, he was on his way to Alabasta to execute this plan. He was traveling to impersonate Vivi's father and kickstart a civil war that would kill thousands. It shows you the danger of the Baroque Works officer agents. They can be silly, they can have their quirks, but they are fundamentally dangerous people carrying out a monstrous plan. Mr. 5 was a weirdo who picked his nose, but he was still a bomber. Mr. 3 was an effete artist, but he was ready to turn our friends into wax statues. Bon Carré is a flamboyant dancer, and he's also a weapon of mass political destruction.
It's a huge lesson for the Straw Hats and for us. Just because someone makes you laugh doesn't mean they're not your enemy. The Grand Line is not a place where you can afford to be naive. And what's worse, they don't know. The crew has no idea that their weird ballet dancing friend is the key to this whole nightmare.
That dramatic irony is what makes this so compelling. We now have the full picture. We know the truth, but our heroes are still in the dark, racing towards a fire without knowing who poured the gasoline.
And as the chapter ends with that reveal hanging in the air, you realize we haven't seen a single Straw Hat this entire time. It's the first time that's happened.
Oda is so confident in the world he's built. He can dedicate an entire chapter to the political machinations of Alabasta, and it's one of the most compelling and horrifying chapters in the series so far. It demonstrates that this world is alive. Things happen whether Luffy is in the room or not. Alabasta's story is its own, and the Straw Hats have just stumbled into the middle of its tragic climax.
It raises the stakes to a whole new level. This isn't about Luffy beating up a bad guy anymore. This is about saving a nation from a lie that is about to tear it apart. How do you fight a lie that everyone believes is the truth? You can't punch a rumor. You can't gum pistol a conspiracy. This is Vivi's fight more than anyone's.
We also got a very brief look at a new character, I think, a Marine officer named Hina. She was only there for a moment in Nanohana, recognizing Mr. 2 before he transformed.
Yeah, Hina, the Black Cage. Sounds friendly, probably just here to help. Just a nice Marine on vacation.
I doubt it. The Marines showing up now just adds another unpredictable element to an already explosive situation. If Smoker is nearby, this could become a three-way conflict between the Straw Hats, Baroque Works, and the Marines. She and Smoker seem to know each other, too. Her presence suggests the world government is at least aware of the instability in Alabasta.
A full-on battle royale in the desert. Super. And the title of the plan, Operation Utopia, is just dripping with irony. Crocodile is building his perfect country, his utopia, on the ashes of the real one. It's just, man, what a chapter. He's not just a pirate, he's a revolutionary, but in the most twisted way possible.
Before we get into predictions, I have to mention Oda's author comment for the week. He asked if everyone is watching the anime's original story arc.
Always cool to see him giving a shout out to the anime team. It really feels like one big family creating the story, manga and anime working together. He's not some distant creator. He's clearly invested in all of it.
It does. It shows how much he cares about every aspect of the world he's built. Okay, shall we move on to what we think happens now that the board is on fire?
Let's do it. Prediction time. If that reveal of Mr. 2 orchestrating this whole thing hit you as hard as it hit us, let us know what you thought in the comments below. I want to hear what everyone thinks about Crocodile's master plan.
What do you think happens next, Franky?
Okay, prediction 1. The very next chapter, we're going to see where the real King Cobra is. He's got to be alive, stashed away somewhere. Crocodile is too smart to kill him yet. He might need him as a bargaining chip or for some other part of the plan. I'm thinking he's imprisoned right under the palace, maybe in the royal crypts, with Miss All Sunday watching over him.
That makes sense. It would be fitting, her guarding the living history of a kingdom she is helping to destroy. A very poetic and cruel assignment. They need to keep him alive for now.
Prediction 2. Vivi and the Straw Hats are on their way to Nanohana to stop the rebellion. They are going to arrive right in the middle of this absolute chaos. They'll find Koza shot, the town in an uproar, and they'll have no idea what just happened. They will have to deal with the immediate fallout of Mr. 2's performance, and they're going to be so confused.
A trial by fire. They wanted to stop a rebellion, but they're about to walk into the first battle of a full-blown civil war. They're already 2 steps behind.
Exactly. And for my third prediction, Koza is not dead. He's too important to the story. He's Vivi's childhood friend. He took a bad hit, but he's going to survive. But the news that the Royal Guard shot him is going to spread like a disease. It will galvanize the rebel army into an immediate, unstoppable march on Alabasta. He'll have lost control of his own movement. He'll become a symbol, a martyr, even while he's still breathing.
Those are solid. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger have a specific target in Nanohana. They didn't just crash a ship for spectacle. That was the cover for their insertion. They're there to either eliminate a key figure who might know the truth, perhaps a government official who was getting suspicious, or to secure an asset for Baroque works. Their arrival is a targeted mission.
Ooh, I like that. They're not just muscle, they're assassins. While Mr. 2 creates the massive distraction, they're in the shadows doing the dirty work. Super efficient.
My second prediction, we will cut to Crocodile. He'll be in his casino base and rain base, likely playing with a sand sculpture of Alabasta, and he will receive a report from Miss All Sunday, confirming that Operation Utopia has officially begun. We'll get that classic villain shot of him, smiling, cigar in his mouth, as his plan comes to fruition perfectly.
The classic just as planned moment. Yeah, I can see that. He deserves a moment to gloat. This was a plan years in the making. He's earned his evil monologue, even if it's just to himself.
And my final prediction, the news of the king's confession and the shooting of Koza will spread across Alabasta incredibly fast, likely via Dendenmushi. We'll see a montage of other towns and cities, like the nearly dried-up Yuba, where Toto is, hearing the news. We'll see the faces of citizens finally turning on the crown completely. The civil war is no longer a possibility. By the end of next chapter, it will be a reality.
The whole country is about to explode. I can feel it. This is the turning point for the entire arc. Everything up to now has been set up. This is the payoff.
It is. The fuse has been lit. The only question now is how big the explosion will be.
And that was chapter 171. We will see you next time on Inherited Dawn.